My fiancée stole my design proposal, all to ensure her senior crush would win the competition. When I confronted her, her expression was one of complete indifference. You're a genius, Ethan. You can whip up a new design in no time. This competition is everything to Julian. Don't be so petty. I withdrew from the competition on the spot and went home to inherit my family's fortune. Suddenly, my fiancée, who had just accused me of being immature, was the one panicking. Ethan, don't be ridiculous, she pleaded over the phone. Design is your life's passion. You can't just quit. Her senior, the one who had plagiarized my work, was also in a panic. This design is your masterpiece, the culmination of all your hard work. Are you really going to throw it all away at a critical moment like this? I hung up, unmoved. What Chloe didn't know was that my design was the preliminary blueprint for a new, massive contract her own family's company was bidding on. I was very eager to see how her precious Julian would handle that without my help. Ethan, why did you plagiarize my design? Under the watchful eyes of the entire design academy, Julian pointed a finger at me, publicly branding me a thief. I tried to speak, to defend myself, but my fiancée, Chloe, stepped forward first. Ethan, I understand how much you wanted to win this, she said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. But plagiarism is shameful. You can't just submit someone else's work as your own. She looked heartbroken, as if I had committed an unforgivable crime. But she and I were the only two who knew the truth. We were the only two who knew about the sleepless nights I'd endured, the multiple computers I'd pushed to their limits until their motherboards fried, all for this project. The day before the deadline, while I was catching a few hours of much-needed rest, she had stolen my files and handed them over to her perfect senior, Julian. It was all to help him secure the prestigious Crimson Gold Design Award. Our relationship was famously perfect, the envy of the Academy. We were the golden couple. No one would ever doubt her words. As whispers and judgmental stares surrounded me, my body trembled with a rage I could barely contain. Chloe, ever the performer, began apologizing to the crowd on my behalf. I'm so sorry, everyone. I never imagined Ethan would do something like this. As his fiancée, I feel it's my duty to apologize to you all. I hope, for the sake of our friendship, you can find it in your hearts to forgive him. The injustice was so profound it felt like a physical blow. Chloe then had the audacity to nudge me, urging me to apologize to Julian. Seeing the smug, triumphant look in his eyes, I yanked my arm away from her. I will not apologize, because I did nothing wrong, I stated, my voice clear and steady. But I will no longer be participating in this competition. With that, I turned and walked out of the Design Academy. Chloe's composure finally cracked. Ethan, she cried, chasing after me and grabbing my arm. Design is your dream. Think of all the sacrifices you've made for it. It's just a little plagiarism accusation. If you just apologize, everyone will welcome you back. That's right, Ethan, Julian added, his voice oozing fake magnanimity. I don't blame you. Just say you're sorry, and you can still compete. Looking at their perfectly synchronized performance, I felt nothing but disgust. I shook Chloe off and ripped the Academy's pin from my chest. No, thank you. It's too dark in there. I'm afraid I might trip over a hidden stone and break my neck. Back at my apartment, I packed everything I owned. I even formatted the hard drives of my computers, companions through countless years of work. As I finished, my mother called. Ethan, darling, how did the competition go? A shadow passed over my face. I quit, I told her. Before she could ask why, I added, I'm coming home. The confusion in her voice instantly turned to pure joy. Oh, wonderful. You've finally come to your senses. I'll send the driver to pick you up right away. I agreed and ended the call, a profound sense of relief washing over me. My family was not just well off. We were wealthier and more influential than Chloe's family by a significant margin. But because Chloe loved design, I had abandoned my finance degree and switched majors, dedicating 7 years of my life to the craft. From my bachelor's to my doctorate, I had won award after award. I had even been the ghost designer behind several of Lynn Corp's most successful project bids. I had given Chloe my entire heart, only to have her betray me for another man. Taking a deep breath, I picked up the Academy-owned laptop to return it, only to find Chloe blocking the doorway. Her face was a mask of fury. Ethan, why won't you just admit you copied Julian's design? The question was so absurd I almost laughed. Why should I admit to something I didn't do? Chloe, you live with me. You, more than anyone, know how many nights I worked, how much effort I poured into that project. You knew how important it was to me. Enough, she snapped, cutting me off. You've won so many awards. What does it matter if you miss out on one? Yes, I gave the design to Julian. So, what? You're a recognized genius. You can just sketch out a new one. This competition means everything to him. Can't you stop being so petty for once? Petty. There was that word again. I had heard it from her countless times over the years. When a taxi driver overcharged us and I reported him, I was being petty. When the academy mistakenly gave her scholarship to someone else, and she cried. To me, my efforts to correct the mistake were petty. Now, after she stole the fruit of my labor to gift wrap for her crush, I was once again the one being petty. And yet, in every single one of those instances, she was the sole beneficiary. A deep weariness settled into my bones. I had no energy left to argue. I tried to step around her, but she blocked me again. Where are you going? To the academy, I said flatly. Her brow furrowed. You're still determined to quit. What's the alternative? I shot back. Stick around to be the fall guy, work myself to the bone so someone else can take the credit? Clearly, that was exactly what she wanted. You can't give up, she said, her tone absolute. Ethan, I know your situation. Without a career in design, what will you do? Stay, finish the competition, and I'll get you a job at my father's company. Her words hit me like a bolt of lightning. So that was it. She was so confident because she thought I was completely dependent on her. She thought I was some poor student with no other options. She couldn't have been more wrong. Thank you for the generous offer, I said, my voice cold. But I decline. I turned to leave, but her shriek stopped me. Ethan, why are you being so stubborn? Fine. If you walk out that door today, we are through. In our 7 years together, she had threatened to break up with me more times than I could count. Each time, I had been the one to beg and plead for her to stay. She was a princess in her castle, issuing decrees without a thought for my feelings. But this time, I was truly exhausted. Fine, I agreed easily. I walked out the door under her stunned gaze and never looked back. At the academy, I handed over my equipment. My advisor, Professor Evans, feigned surprise. She adjusted her gold-rimmed glasses and spoke in a placating tone. Ethan, I heard about what happened this morning. It's not a big deal. No one is blaming you. There's no need to resign over it. Her words sounded kind, but I knew she had a hand in this mess. Professor, I said, my gaze steady. Julian and I are both your students. I think you know better than anyone what our respective skill levels are. You know perfectly well that I didn't plagiarize anything. Her expression hardened instantly. What are you implying? That I'm showing favoritism to Julian? Ethan, your design skills can be lacking, but your character must be impeccable. With an attitude like this, you won't last long in this field. I agree, I nodded. So I'm quitting. I'm done. Professor Evans was speechless with rage, pointing a trembling finger at me. As I turned to leave, I saw Julian and Chloe standing in the doorway. Ethan, you copied the work, and that's that. No one is holding it against you. Julian said, the picture of false sincerity. I've already spoken with Professor Evans. We'll keep this quiet. We're even willing to let you participate as an assistant on the project submission. When we win the award, your name will be on the list. How does that sound? He was so generous. I almost wanted to applaud. If only the design wasn't stolen from me in the first place. I stared at his shameless face. Julian, you've been in this industry long enough to know that assistants don't get official credit in major competitions. The Crimson Gold Design Award is one of the most prestigious in the world. The winner gets a direct path to the Crimson Gold Group's headquarters. Their future is set. I'm not interested in an assistant position. I was simply stating facts, but Chloe reacted as if I had personally insulted her. What's that supposed to mean? The design wasn't yours to begin with. You want to enter as the lead designer? Julian is already being generous by offering you an assistant spot. Don't push your luck. You will take that position, whether you like it or not. If you walk out of this room today, you will never find another design job in a city. Professor Evans narrowed her eyes. I have connections in academia as well. A student with a record like yours won't be accepted by any other institution. That's right, Julian chimed in. If I remember correctly, you're in a continuous bachelor's to doctorate program, aren't you? With a black mark like this, you can forget about your PhD. All those years of study will be for nothing. The three of them smiled, certain they had me trapped. I looked at their smug faces and suddenly changed my mind. All right, I said. I agree. Chloe's face lit up. That's more like it, she said, trying to maintain her arrogant demeanor. Do a good job, Ethan. I've already told my dad. After the competition, we'll get married. and I'll arrange a position for you at my family's company. Professor Evans promised I would graduate on time, but I no longer wanted any of it. With less than 24 hours until the deadline, I was forced to stay at the academy, ostensibly as an assistant, but in reality, to complete the unfinished work on my own design. To ensure I didn't sabotage the project, Julian and Chloe watched me like hawks, a constant 24-hour surveillance. The only privacy I had was in the bathroom, where I managed to glance at a message from my mother. "Ethan, is something wrong? Why aren't you answering my calls?" I quickly typed back, "Mom, something came up. I promise I'll be home tomorrow." Under their suffocating watch, I finished the remaining plans in half a day. However, there was a small but critical runtime error in the final 3D model that I couldn't seem to fix. Julian was sweating bullets, and Chloe berated me for being useless. I maintained an innocent expression. "I've been sitting here all day. Even a robot needs to recharge. How about I go home, get some sleep, and come back in the morning to fix it? The presentation isn't until tomorrow afternoon. There's plenty of time." Chloe refused. "What if you don't make it back in time?" Seeing her singular focus on Julian, I let out a cold, internal laugh. I clutched my head, complained of a sudden headache, and promptly faked a collapse. I was rushed to the hospital, where I underwent a battery of tests. The doctor's diagnosis was simple: exhaustion. Chloe and Julian breathed a collective sigh of relief. But since I remained unconscious, they had no choice but to stay at the hospital overnight. Late into the night, I heard them whispering. At some point, they had ended up in the same bed. "Stop it," Chloe giggled shyly. "Ethan's right there." Julian's voice was slick with desire. "Doesn't that make it more exciting? Besides, I'm about to win the Crimson Gold Award. Once I'm at headquarters, who is Ethan? A nobody. Why should we care about him?" Apparently, Chloe was convinced. The sound of their kissing filled the quiet room, a wet, disgusting noise that made my stomach churn. While they were otherwise occupied, I silently slipped out of the hospital bed and out of the room. I called my family's driver. I was leaving a city and heading straight home. By the time Chloe and Julian realized I was gone and frantically started calling, I was already on a plane. I glanced at the flashing caller ID, turned off my phone, leaned back in my seat, and finally slept. The morning sun was warm on my face when I arrived home. My mother had prepared a feast, a table laden with all my favorite dishes. The familiar aroma filled the air, and it finally sank in. I was truly home. I ate until I was full, then collapsed onto my soft, king-sized bed, savoring a moment of pure relaxation I hadn't felt in years. My relationship with my family had become strained when I chose to be with Chloe. She had expensive tastes, and to keep her happy, I had worked myself to the bone, churning out designs for cash. In 7 years, I had barely had a moment to myself. Now, finally, I could be me again. The feeling was incredible. Chloe was still relentlessly blowing up my phone. When calls didn't go through, she switched to texts. "Ethan, where are you? Get your ass back here right now. Stop playing games. Do you want me to break up with you for real?" I replied with a simple TD for 2A ding, the Chinese pinyin for unsubscribe or break up. A second later, my phone rang. I accidentally answered, and Chloe's furious roar filled my ear. "Ethan, what the hell is that supposed to mean? You promised you'd fix the bug this morning. Where did you go? Do you have any idea how much your selfishness is going to affect Julian? I don't care where you are. You have 10 minutes to get back here, or we are finished." Listening to her tirade, a small smile played on my lips. "Aren't we already finished?" I asked calmly. "We were finished the moment you stole my design for Julian. Chloe, I'm officially informing you, we're breaking up." I was so calm, it was as if I were commenting on the weather. Chloe, on the other hand, was utterly flabbergasted. "You're breaking up with me?" she screeched after a moment of stunned silence. "We just got engaged. People get divorced after getting married," I retorted. "Why can't people break up after getting engaged? Besides, you and Julian are so close. We can't have him be the other man, can we?" That broke her. She started screaming, calling me a lunatic and threatening that if I didn't come back, she'd have Professor Evans withhold my degree and ensure I never worked at her father's company. I laughed and sent her a photo of my family's mansion. "See this? It's 3 times the size of your house. I don't need a degree. As for a job, sorry, I've decided to come home and inherit the family business. A life of working for someone else was never in the cards for me." The competition was about to start. Julian frantically asked Chloe for an update. Seeing her shake her head, he sighed in frustration. "Forget it. It's just a small runtime bug. It won't affect the presentation. Ethan, you just wait. I'm not finished with you. Oh, really? I was quite looking forward to seeing how Julian, who couldn't even handle his own mess, planned to finish with me. That evening, my mother called me downstairs to watch television with her. It was a live broadcast of the Crimson Gold Design Award ceremony. Julian was on stage with his entry, Seasons of Bloom, speaking eloquently to the judges and audience. My mother stared at the design in his hands, her expression growing strange. She reached for the remote to change the channel, but I stopped her. Let's watch. Why change it? She stammered, unable to form a complete sentence. Finally, she asked, Ethan, did something happen at the academy? While working on Seasons of Bloom, I had been stuck on a particular detail and had secretly consulted with the lead designer who had once worked for my family's company. My mother found out and, seeing an opportunity to reconnect, provided me with several of her company's internal design proposals for reference. It was the moment our strained relationship began to heal. I knew I couldn't hide it from her. Someone stole my design, I admitted. What? My mother shot up from the sofa, the television forgotten. Who did it? I'm calling the organizing committee right now and having him disqualified. How dare they steal from my son? She was furious, but I calmed her down. Mom, don't worry about it. He's about to get exactly what he deserves. She looked at me doubtfully. I placed a plate of freshly washed fruit in front of her. Trust me, when have you ever seen your son lose a fight? The broadcast continued. Seasons of Bloom was a clear crowd pleaser, earning nods of approval from the judges. My mother seethed. Julian stood tall, basking in the praise. Then came the demonstration. He confidently launched the 3D presentation. But instead of the intricate model he expected, the screen went blank for a second, then flashed 4 massive words in bright red. Plagiarism is shameful. The audience gasped. Everyone looked around, completely confused. Julian fumbled with the controls, trying desperately to shut it down, but it was too late. The pre-programmed sequence I had embedded began to run. It detailed the design's true inspiration, its core philosophy, and intricate details that were completely different from Julian's shallow explanation. Any expert in the room could see this version was infinitely more sophisticated. Julian's face went pale. He tried to claim it was an alternative, avant-garde presentation method, but the judges weren't fools. After the animation finished, a question appeared on the screen, a question that the program stated only the true designer could answer. The head judge turned to Julian. You claim to be the author of Seasons of Bloom. Please answer the question from the presentation. Julian stood frozen, clutching the microphone, sweat pouring down his face. He couldn't answer. After a tense silence, the committee made its announcement. Due to suspicion of plagiarism, the contestant Julian is hereby disqualified. I felt a wave of pure satisfaction. My mother gave me a huge thumbs up. That's my boy. As a reward, here's $10 million. Go have some fun. Card in hand, I headed straight for the city's luxury district. While with Chloe, every penny I earned went towards her lifestyle. Today, I was going to spoil myself. I test drove the latest sports cars and bought a whole new wardrobe. Just as I was enjoying my newfound freedom, Chloe's name flashed on my phone. I knew exactly what she was going to say. I ignored it, but she was persistent, calling again and again, to the point where I couldn't even complete my purchase. Annoyed, I blocked her number. Finally, silence. The next few days were a blur of pure indulgence. Bali one day, Venice the next. I did everything I had ever wanted to do, but couldn't afford. Things I had paid for Chloe to experience while I stayed behind and worked. Skydiving, bungee jumping, you name it. Lying on a foreign beach, feeling the ocean breeze, I thought to myself, this is the life a rich heir is supposed to live. While I was thriving, Chloe and Julian were not. Julian was hounded by the media, a pariah in the design world. He couldn't sleep, couldn't go anywhere without being mobbed. Chloe, ever the loyal defender, decided to speak out. She held a press conference, feeding them a fabricated story. The presentation was sabotaged, she claimed. Ethan was jealous of Julian's talent, so he deliberately altered the animation. Julian only took the blame to protect Ethan from being expelled. The real plagiarist is Ethan. To prove her point, she released edited audio clips of our arguments at the academy. With her careful online manipulation, a wave of public opinion turned against me. My social media accounts were flooded with hate. People found my old apartment and dorm, spray painting plagiarist dye on the walls. My mother was sick with worry. In response to the storm, I posted only one thing online. the answer to the question from the competition. The internet fell silent. Chloe, refusing to give up, claimed I had made it up. She leveraged her status as my fiancée to continue defending Julian, and the online mobs, easily swayed, started up again. But then I received a call from the competition's organizing committee. After a brief conversation, they released an official statement. They had verified my claim and recognized me as the sole creator of Seasons of Bloom. Julian's plagiarism was now an undisputed fact. The tide of public opinion turned with brutal speed. The trolls who had attacked me now descended upon Julian, digging up every mistake he had ever made. Under immense pressure, the academy expelled him. His life was ruined. He couldn't even leave his house without being pelted with garbage. I was satisfied with the outcome. My vacation was over, so I headed to my mother's company to officially start my new life. That's when Chloe called again, this time from a new number. "Ethan, are you happy now?" she screamed. "Do you know what you've done? You've ruined Julian. You have to stop this, or I swear, I will make you pay." The same empty threats. "What are you going to do?" I asked, bored. "Make it so I can't graduate or find a job. I told you I don't care. Do whatever you and that corrupt professor of yours want. Just stay away from me. You're bad luck." I hung up. She immediately started sending abusive texts, all variations on the same theme. I would regret this. The only thing I regretted was wasting 7 years of my life on her. I blocked her new number and stepped into the CEO's office. It turned out being the boss was far more enjoyable than being a designer. But Chloe's next move was something I never could have predicted. I had imagined countless ways she might try to save Julian, but I never expected this. She convinced her father and Lynn Corp to actually build the project using Julian's flawed, plagiarized version of the design. I understood her logic. If the project was successfully built, it would prove the design was viable, thereby clearing Julian's name. It was a bold, desperate move. It was also incredibly stupid. I quietly vetoed my own company's plan to acquire Lynn Corporation. A much bigger show was about to begin. Chloe bet half of Lynn Corp's net worth on the project. She poured millions into construction and marketing. 3 months later, the building was finished. On the day of the unveiling, she invited media from all over the city. Julian and I were classmates. I know his character and his talent, she declared passionately. He would never plagiarize. With this project, I will prove to the world that his design works, and that he is not a thief. It was a great speech. I almost applauded. But I knew Julian didn't have the technical knowledge to execute such a complex design. A real-world project requires constant guidance from the lead architect. Without me, it was doomed to fail. I waited for the disaster. To my shock, the building passed its initial inspections. I was baffled. I reviewed Julian's stolen plans again and again, even consulting with top experts. They all came to the same conclusion. On paper, it seemed flawed but potentially viable. Then Julian called me, gloating. "So what if you sabotage the presentation, Ethan? With Chloe on my side, you'll never win. You're just a poor loser. I'm not just going to clear my name. I'm going to make sure Chloe and Professor Evans destroy you. You're finished." His arrogant tone sparked an idea. I made an anonymous call to the authorities, demanding a second, more rigorous structural integrity audit of the new Lynn Corp building. Before the results of that audit could come in, disaster struck. An unapproved corporate event was held in one of the building's main halls. A section of the structure collapsed, resulting in over 100 casualties. Lynn Corp became the subject of a national scandal. Chloe's first move was to blame the construction company for cutting corners. Unfortunately for her, the head of that company was her own uncle. She then tried to blame the material supplier. Even more unfortunately for her, that supplier was a subsidiary of my mother's company. We promptly released all the relevant quality certifications, proving our materials were flawless. Chloe was left with no one to blame. Before she could invent a new scapegoat, the results of the second audit were released. They were damning. The design itself was fundamentally flawed and should never have been approved for construction. This time, there was no escape. Facing public fury, Chloe's father made a decisive move. He threw Julian under the bus, blaming him for everything. Julian was arrested and, given the scale of the tragedy, was facing the death penalty. Chloe begged her father to intervene, but he refused. The scandal engulfed Lynn Corp, and its stock value plummeted overnight. I moved swiftly, buying up a controlling stake in the company. Within a week, the Lynn Corp signs were taken down, replaced by the emblem of the Chin Group. When Chloe saw me presiding over the company handover ceremony, the reality of the situation finally hit her. She lunged at me, screaming. It was you. Ethan, you did this. You ruined Julian. You destroyed my father's life's work. I'll kill you. She was hysterical, clawing at the air, but my bodyguards formed a protective wall around me. The other shareholders, men who had been her father's closest allies, now shouted at her to leave. Seeing them side with me, her face turned ashen. Security guards grabbed her arms to drag her away. Wait, I said, stepping forward until I was face to face with her. I never tried to harm anyone, I told her quietly. Your greed and your blindness did this. Seasons of Bloom was my creation. You stole it for Julian. Yes, the award was important to him. Was it not important to me? You knew what I sacrificed for it. You destroyed Julian, Chloe. And you destroyed us. But Lynn Corp was innocent, she sobbed. Why did you have to destroy it? It was my father's legacy. He treated you like a son. I handed her a document. Why do you think your father agreed to our engagement? It's a copy of an agreement I drafted. I promised him that after I won the Crimson Gold Award and joined the group, I would provide my design services to Lynn Corp for free on all future projects. From the day we met, I was planning our future. You were the one who betrayed it. She had nothing left to say. I had her removed. Lynn Corp was officially absorbed into the Chin Group. A few weeks later, Chloe showed up at my new office with a pregnant belly, demanding I take responsibility. Ethan, I'm pregnant. Let's get married. I stared at her, thinking I must be dreaming. Find the father of your child and ask him, I said, my voice flat. This has nothing to do with me. But she insisted the child was mine, creating a scene in the lobby and threatening to harm herself if I didn't take responsibility. You destroyed my family. My father is in the hospital because of you. But I can't forgive you, she cried. But you can't abandon your own child. I was with you for 7 years. We were engaged. How can you be so heartless? I almost laughed. Yes, we were together for 7 years. But ever since Julian had reappeared 3 years ago, she had grown distant. We hadn't been intimate in months, and for the last half year, she had spent nearly all her time with him. Stay here as long as you like, I told her coldly. But that child is not mine. I underestimated her. She started a live stream from the lobby, tearfully telling the world her sob story. Ethan pretended to be poor to get close to me. He ruined my family, but I forgive him. I'm carrying his child, and all I want is for our baby to have a complete family. What have I done wrong? Her performance was convincing, and she quickly gained the sympathy of thousands of online viewers. I was branded a monster, and the company's stock began to dip. Fed up, I released the security footage from the hospital that night, the footage of her and Julian together. Then, I publicly challenged her to a DNA test. She refused. The public finally saw her for who she was. The sympathy turned to scorn. Defeated, she tried one last time to cause a scene at my office. This time I was ready. I had her arrested for slander. In court, she lost control, attacked a bailiff, and suffered a miscarriage. Her already ailing father heard the news and died from a stroke. 1 month later, Julian's sentence came down. Death for criminal negligence and endangering public safety. His confession also implicated Professor Evans, who was sentenced to prison for academic fraud. It was all finally over. I received a formal offer from the Crimson Gold Group. They had reviewed my past portfolio and, impressed by my talent, offered me a senior position. I no longer needed it. Instead, in the heart of a city, I tore down the disgraced Lynn Corp building. In its place, I built a new tower, a new landmark. It was based on the original, perfected design of Seasons of Bloom, incorporating new concepts I had developed. I no longer worked as a designer, but everyone who visited the new building praised the genius of its architect. Standing on the street below, looking up at the gleaming tower with the words Chun Group emblazoned across its peak, I felt a deep, quiet sense of satisfaction.